The Battle of the Gods happens again. Who will be the god of destruction of Universe 7? A new movie promised for 2026, where we will have Frieza against Beerus in an insane fight. Frieza's true plan: to usurp the position of a god of destruction. His plan is finally revealed after almost 2 years of waiting. This is too insane. Guys, run to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the bell. The insane fight breaks out in this new Dragon Ball Super movie. On one side, the one who carries darkness within himself since birth. On the other, the one who saw in destruction the strength to become a deity. Two sides of the same coin. But only one of them cares about the balance of the universe itself. Black Frieza against Beerus, the god of destruction. This clash of powers is about to change the whole course of the story in Dragon Ball. And all of this in this new movie, which will reveal to us this great plan of Frieza and reintroduce him in the manga. But what really to expect from a fight between these two? Stay tuned until the end of the video, where I will tell every detail of both powers currently. But first, here we have one of the most intriguing things in this current scenario in Dragon Ball Super. How the passing of the baton from one god to another to become the next Hikaishin will be done, like Top, who is already considered for this. We might also have this parallel. Sooner or later, this has to be shown somewhere. And this is the perfect moment for 2026. Surely by then the manga itself will have already returned. And it would be an epic movie, where Frieza tries to usurp the power, has an epic fight with Beerus, and he comes to explain at the end of the movie that this would not be possible. Only by defeating him, maybe yes, or maybe no. Could it be like that? It is still very vague, and it would be cool to approach this in a movie and then replicate it in the manga with more details, as we have already seen other times in Dragon Ball Super itself. Anyway, here now at the beginning. Already make your bets in your mind. Or if you are more daring, already leave your comment on the video on which of the two you bet on, remembering that editing later is not allowed. When we imagine Frieza with the power of a god of destruction, the very essence of the universe begins to unbalance. Unlike the Hikaishin, who even with all their powers still follow principles and orders from the angels and Zeno, Frieza has no moral breaks, nor reverence for creation. His hatred is calculated, his wickedness is cold, and his ambition infinite. Upon receiving this type of power, something so absolute that transcends the limit of mere physical transformations, Frieza would stop being just a galactic emperor to become a primordial force, a fixed point of ruin in the fabric of reality. If he acquired the energy of destruction, that dense purple energy that disintegrates existence at the slightest touch, he would not use it to maintain balance, but rather to affirm his supremacy, wiping out planets on a whim, destroying entire races with a simple crooked look. He would no longer need to fight long. With a snap of fingers, an explosion of energy, or just a gesture of disdain, any opponent could be reduced to cosmic dust. His battles would no longer be about physical strength, but about who would even dare to look into his eyes. Visually, Frieza could gain an even more slender and lethal form, as if his body had been shaped by the destruction energy itself. His eyes would shine with the purple of chaos. His movements would be silent, almost ethereal, but devastating. A touch from him would make matter itself refuse to exist. And his laugh, that sharp and cruel laugh, would sound like a prelude to the extinction of civilizations. He would not just be an enemy. Frieza, with this power, would become a calamity that would rival even the angels themselves. If before the gods despised him, now they would fear him. Because unlike them, who exist to protect the cycle of creation and destruction, Frieza would be pure destruction, without regeneration afterward. Not even Zeno could laugh in the face of such a threat, because Frieza now would not bow. He would demand the throne, demand to be called the king of everything, and maybe for the first time, the universe would tremble at the possibility of him succeeding. That said, we know what is at stake here. Not just a position of a divine being who destroys, so that balance does not end. This movie promises a lot, in the biggest Thanos style, but this has always been the work of a god of destruction, just as he already allowed the Saiyan planet to be destroyed by Frieza himself. And maybe even Frieza's planet was destroyed by Beerus earlier, so there would be no more of the same race, but only them two. In the case King Cold and Frieza only, so there would be no imbalance. And a fight between the two now would be a unique battle. Beerus has to stop Frieza in this movie, period. Remembering that we have already seen Beerus much more in action than the current Black Frieza in his masterful form, with dominant power that was able to quickly finish off Gas, Goku, and Vegeta, thanks to the refined evolution of his species. We know that in this vast Dragon Ball universe, few characters manage to impose absolute respect with mere presence. And these two names, however, figure among the most imposing in the multiverse. Also, because Frieza stopped being known only in Universe 7 during the Power Tournament arc, even almost being killed by a Hakai energy from a god of another universe. Knowing his perversity, and wanting to put an end to Universe 7's participation in the tournament, which was totally a failure. Beerus, the god of destruction of Universe 7, and Black Frieza, a newly emerged and even more terrifying version of the classic villain. The clash between these two powers awakens fans' curiosity, not only due to the difference of origins, but by the trajectory both followed and the still not fully explored potential of each. Both represent extremes in their own ways. The controlled chaos of divinity and the insatiable ambition of villainy. In the movie Dragon Ball Z, Battle of the Gods, Beerus mentions that he used about 70% of his power during the fight against Goku in his Super Saiyan God form. This information was confirmed by Akira Toriyama himself in interviews and extra materials, indicating that Beerus was still well above Goku at that moment, even with Goku having reached a new divine level. However, it is worth remembering that this number generated much discussion among fans, since Beerus did not fight seriously the whole time. He seemed to be having more fun than really fighting with everything. Even with 70%, he was still clearly superior to Goku. Later, in Dragon Ball Super, it becomes even more evident that Beerus is on a level above not only Goku, but also other gods of destruction, especially when he defeats several of them at the same time in a friendly confrontation. That is to say, 70% is what he said, but there is still room for doubt about how much he really used at that moment. After that, he had an epic fight in the manga, holding off several gods at the same time. After Zeno and his assistant Daishinken, the Grand Priest, announced the Tournament of Power, all the gods of destruction from the 12 universes gathered to discuss details and demonstrate their abilities in an arena created by Daishinken. On this occasion, the atmosphere among them becomes tense, as there is some rivalry between some, especially because of the Zenith's decision to erase universes with low mortal level. It is in this context that a widespread confrontation between the gods of destruction occurs, a free-for-all battle with everyone against everyone. This is where Beerus stands out. While the other gods exchange brutal attacks among themselves, Beerus shows reflexes and agility superior to all, easily dodging coordinated attacks from several opponents. At one point, 11 gods of destruction attack Beerus simultaneously, and he manages to dodge all of them without receiving a single hit. This surprises even the gods themselves and the audience present. Not only that, Beerus also counterattacks with strength and precision, incapacitating several opponents. He shows not only raw power, but also an extremely advanced combat instinct, suggesting that he might be on the verge of Ultra Instinct or at least trained enough with Whis to use automatic reflexes in a similar way. Daishinken eventually interrupts the fight, and the scene makes it clear that, among all the gods of destruction, Beerus is the most skilled and probably the most powerful. He had already been mentioned before as someone feared by other gods. Champa, his brother from Universe 6, for example, always seems nervous dealing with him. But this confrontation served to reinforce this visually and definitively in the manga. Taking this into account, and the fact that Goku has also evolved a lot throughout the arcs, and Frieza being able to finish Goku in just one blow, then it shows that he is not far behind Beerus either. But this is just an argument, because we won't really know how much Beerus used against Goku back then, since Goku is much stronger now, and Frieza, with 10 years of training, was able to surpass him and Vegeta at the same time. Just thinking about it is insane. A fight between the two would be beyond imagination, and it is about who paces the fight more, where each blow would have to be analyzed very calmly, besides the insane brawling. When analyzing the powers of both, the contrast is evident. Beerus masters divine techniques like Hakai, but the argument against this would be Vegeta's fight against Top, who can contain that energy. Of course, there is no comparison between Top's power and Beerus, but basically, this wouldn't be a problem for Frieza. He always has a card up his sleeve, and he was on the battlefield, and could have assimilated what Vegeta did against Top, because he is very cunning, even though Beerus can use a form of absolute destruction capable of completely erasing the target from existence, whether physical or spiritual. He also has mastery over Destruction Ki, reflexes absurdly superior to any mortals, and a combat intuition that rivals the greatest warriors of the multiverse. Furthermore, he was shown as superior to Goku in all his forms up to the most recent manga events, maintaining his position as a power benchmark for the Scions. Frieza, in turn, combines cruelty with sharp military intellect. His transformations, unlike those of the Scions that require emotion, come from continuous refinement. He has already shown mastery of several techniques, including flight, telekinesis, energy blasts with surgical precision, and impressive durability. With Frieza Black, his limits seem to have been redefined. Although details of this transformation are still scarce, everything indicates that he has incorporated a level of power superior to any god of destruction shown so far. This raises the inevitable question: can Frieza really surpass Beerus in this fight? The answer is too complex, guys. Beerus, until now, has not revealed all of his power. Although he has faced Goku in Super Saiyan God and demonstrated superiority, as mentioned above, he has never fought seriously against the protagonists in their most recent forms. Whenever Goku evolves, Beerus seems unfazed. His power, although rarely shown in full combat, is hinted to be overwhelming. The angels themselves, like Whis, treat Beerus with respect, but also lightly, suggesting that he is still below the highest levels of the divine pantheon. Frieza Black, on the other hand, defeated Goku and Vegeta with apparent ease, but he has not yet faced Beerus. The hierarchy relationship in the universe still places the gods of destruction above mortals. But for how long will this last? Frieza is a being who not only wants power, he wants authority. This leads us to a broader discussion. Are cosmic roles immutable? Frieza, with his intellect, could seek not only brute power, but also divine functions. We have seen that the gods of destruction are chosen, not born with that title. Top, for example, was a candidate for the position. If Frieza manages not only to equal, but to surpass Beerus in power and demonstrate a balance between destruction and control, he could indeed, in the future, aspire to that role. The moral question, however, is an obstacle. Frieza does not act for balance. He acts for conquest. Would he be accepted by the angels or by Zeno himself as a figure of universal authority? This is still uncertain. Who knows if this has nothing to do with it? And if Beerus loses, he has to pass the title. And so Frieza would be an aberration. Having an angel as an assistant to train him, he would become insanely powerful, a pure power hack. This could definitely be one of his plans to break this thin line between mortals and gods and cause total disaster. In terms of narrative, this movie would bring the rise of Frieza, representing a paradigm shift. While Beerus symbolizes the order of the gods, Frieza is the chaos that challenges this order. He evolves on his own, without masters, without limits, only based on the will to dominate. That is what makes him so dangerous and so fascinating. Beerus is powerful because he is divine. Frieza is dangerous because he refuses to be less than a god. The future of the franchise will probably bring this confrontation, and when it happens, it will not just be a battle of power. It will be a fight for status, for meaning, for what really defines a god of destruction. Does the position require morality, balance, or just strength? Frieza can, with time, not only surpass Beerus, but take his place, as long as he can prove that his destruction is not just chaos, but part of a universal cycle.